right, third try. We good? We're good. We're good. Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. I am Meg. I am the virtual production specialist and LED wall technician here at OHD Studios. Thank you so much for coming to Gear Show and for coming to my panel. Once again, Gear Show is presented by Sony. We are on the RE main stage, and the live stream is presented by Sigma. So let's talk a little bit about virtual production. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is virtual production? If you just showed up to this panel because you're like, I've never heard these words before and I want to learn about it, we're going to talk about that. So the number one thing a lot of people think about when they think about virtual production is filming on an LED wall, such as the one we have right here. Some of the most well-known examples of this are The Mandalorian, The Batman, where the goal was to shoot on a virtual environment instead of using green screen for a variety of reasons that we're gonna get into later. But virtual production doesn't always mean that you're shooting a virtual environment on an LED wall. You can also do live compositing, where you have a virtual environment being rendered in real time while you're shooting on green screen. You can even film entirely inside a virtual environment. This is what happened with the live-action Lion King. We can debate whether or not it's actually live action, but that was shot using a real camera that was moving entirely in virtual space. So those are just a few different examples of what virtual production can look like. So why might you want to shoot on an LED wall? You might be looking at this and thinking, oh my god, that looks awful. Why would I want to film on this? So let's chat. The number one thing to know about virtual production is that it is designed so that the view from the camera looks real. What's on the wall behind me doesn't look real to our human eyes, but the goal is to sync the camera and the wall and the virtual environment so well that it looks realistic through the camera. And there are a few different ways that we can achieve this. So one thing that virtual production does is it creates this sort of immersive lighting. You might be able to see that I'm a little bit backlit by this wall right now, almost as if I were standing on an icy road on a day like this. I know we're all sick of snow here in Ohio right now, so I'm really sorry to traumatize you all by showing you more snow, but just bear with me here. So you might notice that I'm getting this kind of cool immersive lighting effect from the environment. That is one thing that helps when you're shooting on an LED volume. You don't have that green spill that you might get from shooting on green screen, which is something I have dealt with before. It is not fun to deal with. You can eliminate that by shooting on an LED wall. Another reason why doing virtual production can be really helpful is logistically. Say you need to be in 10 locations in one day. Say you need to be in a location that would be awful to shoot in, like a warehouse with a bunch of really loud equipment. That was a shoot we did last week, where it would be terrible to record audio if you're just in this warehouse with this loud machinery, but we can shoot it on the wall and it's completely silent. So you need to shoot in a really high security area, but you can't get there. You can film on the wall, and you can literally be there, no problem. So logistically, with the locations, that can be a really helpful asset that the wall provides. But you also get a lot of cool creative control with the wall. You can have any virtual environment you can imagine. You could be any time of day, any weather. We can be at golden hour forever on the wall. We can be in the middle of the day. We can be night. We can be on a mountaintop. We can be in a desert. There are a lot of benefits to shooting on the wall. And these are just a few of them. So let's chat a little bit about how this works. So as you can see, we've got this wall. This wall is rendering a scene live from this thing called Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is a game engine. Its probably most popular use was for the game Fortnite. I'm assuming people know what Fortnite is. So Unreal is rendering this scene in real time using a super powerful computer with synced Quadro graphics cards. And we are able to edit it in real time. We are able to make changes, and I'm going to show you all that a little bit later. And the reason we want this to be rendered in real time is so that as the camera moves, the perspective on the wall shifts. So Robbie, would you show how the perspective on the wall shifts as the camera moves? So we're achieving this using motion tracking. We have a Vive motion tracking system set up throughout the room so that Unreal Engine always knows where the camera is in space. And that means that what is on the wall is always rendered from the correct point of view with the correct perspective. You get that parallax effect. And that's what helps us to achieve a realistic look through this. So it's a combination of the hardware, the software, and the motion tracking enables us to achieve this virtual environment that looks realistic in camera. So now that I've kind of talked a little bit about virtual production, I'm going to show you guys some of the things that we can do to change the scene in real time to sort of get those creative controls that I talked about. So Robbie, if you could move our camera into position, and would my lovely assistant Veronica stand on stage so we can see her? And my computer screen feed should be visible on the monitors. So this is the Unreal Engine. As you can see our little fake camera moving in real time as our real camera moves to sort of track it. And there's a variety of different things we can do here. We can move location. Do we want to be further down the road? Do we want to be this way? We can change where we're facing. Maybe we want to be seeing this like lake environment. Maybe we want to face the other way down the road. And this is all rendered in real time and completely editable in real time. So say we're like, we want like the sun to be setting right now. Say we want to shoot some nice golden hour. I can literally just move the position of the sun in a single click, and we're there. Say we want it to be nighttime. Now we've got some stars out. Say I want it to be really cloudy. We can get it really dark. So these are all just examples of like what is possible with virtual production, with rendering in real time, and how this enables us to have that full creative control over scenes as we're playing with them. So a few other things that we are experimenting with going forward actually are having dynamic lighting that changes with the scene. So if you look at the lights above the stage, we can actually change that lighting in real time to match the lighting of the scene. So they're kind of a dark blue right now. And if we go lighter, they will get brighter along with our scene. So it just adds another element to that whole immersive lighting that is sort of reflecting down on our talent and our character as we go through the scene. We can even adjust the scene if we want. We can say, we want more snow on the road. We can make that road be completely covered in snow. We can take it away. We can say, we don't want any of that ice on the road, or no, we want the road to be covered in water. So again, these are all just possibilities for what we can do with virtual production. I'm hearing myself as I walk across the room. That's weird. Yeah, thank you, Veronica. Appreciate it. And sort of the potential that we have here. We really have not even tapped into all of the potential. Some things we've been exploring are adding interactive and immersive elements, particles that follow you across the stage, adding augmented reality elements, and compositing foreground elements in real time as you film. These are all ways that we're pushing forward with virtual production here, and things that we're learning along with sort of the lights that I've shown you. And the technology is ever evolving. We're always learning more, we're always doing more, and trying to be on the forefront of all of that. And that's where we're going with our virtual production here. So that's kind of like the basics. I know this is pretty new, and a lot of people might not have seen it before, so I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has about this technology, or about how we're using it, or what the possibilities could be.
First of all, wow.
Thank you.
This is awesome stuff. Do you So this is like newer as far as virtual production, sort of the next evolution of the green screen is what I'm hearing you say. So the green screen now being accessible to a wider variety of end users. Do you see this as being the next, like, will this also come to the individual creator? Or is this technology and the way that it's set up, do you see it like reserved for a space like this and applications and like an environment like this?
So that's a great question. The biggest hurdle that for the individual when it comes to technology like this is the LED wall. Obviously, not everyone has a place to set this up. Not everybody has a room to set this up in. But at the same time, I've also heard of people doing the same exact thing with just television screens. You can use the software is completely free, open source. You can use it anywhere on any computer that you have. So essentially, this wall is just a giant second monitor, and if you have a big enough monitor to film on, like that's definitely a path you can go down. I think the hardware issue that you don't really have with green screen, where you can put a green screen anywhere, it's transportable, it's easy to get. Unfortunately, the hardware is a little bit more complicated with this side. But I mean, I'd love to see a day where people are doing this with their television monitors, with their computer monitors. I think that would be incredible. I do think that virtual production with a green screen background is something that's very accessible to a lot of people. I know people who have made projects in their garage using the same software, but just like a slightly different application where you're filming on green screen and it's being rendered virtually instead. Yeah, of course. Does anyone else have questions?
I might have missed this earlier, but I have a couple questions. Is this place you're at a real location, or is this completely generated just in the software?
So this is a completely virtual 3D modeled environment that is intended for use with like automotive scenes. So that's a thing that's used a lot for virtual production because cars are very reflective and very shiny. So if you want it to be in a virtual environment, it's pretty hard to do that on green screen since your car is just going to be green. So LED volumes are actually used a lot for driving scenes and for cars. So long answer to a short question, but yes, this is a virtual scene.
What are the like limitations on like real life, like real world places? Like if I wanted to film in like downtown New York, can I just download that and pop that into this software and film in downtown New York, or is there limitations on where you can go?
So theoretically, there are no limitations. Practically, there does have to be an existing model of it. For example, New York, there are models of that. We've used the White House, just because people have already gone and made those 3D models. So they do have to be created, but if they exist out there, then we can film in them. We use a technique called photogrammetry to scan real-life locations, real-life objects, real-life assets, and then those can then be imported in as a virtual background. So that's a path you can go down. Another path you can go down is something that we sometimes do that's like in between virtual production and green screen, where we just put plates on the wall. If you take plates of a location, you don't get that parallax effect of the camera changing perspective, but if you have a static camera, we're able to line up the foreground elements and the background elements so that it looks semi-realistic. We've done that before with locations that we were unable to film within, but we were able to have photographers go in and take those plates to film in front of.
So could you like take a walk in front of like motion? Like you could take a walk and this would move with you? Or is it dependent on where the camera is? Or how does that work? Like I'm thinking of like, you said the car commercial. I'm like, how many miles of green screen or video wall would you need to do a car commercial?
Yeah, so I don't have that planned right now, but I can totally, I mean, Veronica, do you want to just move the end display along the road behind me as I stand here? This will be a really, really rough demo, but That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, what we would do is we would program the scene to move behind us, which I think. Yep, yep. We have complete control over the virtual camera appearance. So we can, yeah, there we go. So it can kind of look like I'm walking along a little bit, a little bit. Yeah, pretend I'm on a treadmill right now. I'm going backwards, you guys. Jumping up and down. So, you know, obviously this is very shaky. I'm walking to the side of the cliff now. Where is Veronica going to send me next? I don't know. Into the snowbank. Oh no. So, yeah, we can program it to go wherever we want, animate it to move in any direction.
So you might have covered this, but you stated that the software is open source?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the software is called Unreal Engine.
Okay.
It's a game engine. It's available to download for free. Anyone can
Okay.
use it. I encourage anyone who's interested in this to download it, start watching some online tutorials, start poking around. There's a lot of great tutorials online.
So we have LED screens in our organization. So can I use that software with those LED screens, or does it have to be this type of green screen?
Yeah, no, 100%. Any
Okay.
LED screens.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Look into it.
Compared to a green screen, how much post-production work is needed with this as opposed to keying somebody out? Is there anything you really have to do aside from just shoot on the screen?
So that is one of the great things about virtual production is that it really limits your amount of post-production work needed. Really what it does is it moves it all to pre-production, because a lot of the time what you're doing in post-production, once you're comping in these environments, is ensuring the environments look right and that they're functioning correctly, that they're rendering correctly, and we just have to do that all in pre-production, which I don't mind doing. I like being prepared ahead of time, but I know for some people it's not the workflow that they're used to. So yeah, what I would do for a virtual production project is I would meet with my client. I would say, hey, what is your vision for this? What environments do we want to use? What do we want it to look like? What do we want the lighting to look like? What colors should we use? What types of cameras are you thinking about using? We do all of that in pre-production. And then by the time we get to the shoot day, the look is pretty much finalized and we are ready to go. And then afterwards, post-production is minimal, just normal, editing, coloring, very little compositing needed.
Do you have any issue with shooting like high speed on those, or no, like slow motion?
So that is something that we struggle with a little bit, because the speed at which you're able to film is completely dependent upon the ability of the wall to show frames. So our wall is only physically capable of going up to, I believe it is 60 hertz, which means we can only film up to 30 frames per second on our wall. Unfortunately, we're just limited by the hardware in that way. Other walls may not have that limitation. It just depends what you're shooting on. So we're only able to do 24 to 30 frames per second on our wall. There are ways to get around that. There are methods called ghost framing, where you have multiple frames interspersed on the wall at the same time. So there's definitely people pushing forward in that way, but that is an issue in virtual production.
Okay, thank you.
For people in the industry now or going into the industry, what kind of keywords in terms of jobs will this kind of production, I mean, what should we be looking for? What should we be training for in terms of the new jobs that something like this would create as it gets more and more popular?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing I want to dispel is that a lot of people see this and they're like, oh, you don't need a set designer anymore. That's wrong. You still need a set designer. Foreground elements are incredibly important. If you just see me, standing in front of an environment and there's nothing in the foreground to really ground me in that environment, it's not going to look super realistic. So it's really important that you do have that art designer, the set deck, there to work with you to ensure that the virtual and real environments blend together as much as possible. Same goes with lighting. You still need someone to light your talent, to light your foreground elements. This isn't going to eliminate all of those jobs. It's just we're going to work together in new and interesting ways. Jobs that this will create. So there's like a variety of different things you can do in virtual production. One application is Unreal Engine Artist or 3D Artist. These are the people who would design the worlds. They would do modeling. They would do texturing. They would, conceptualize and create these worlds and edit them according to the needs of the project. There's also the LED wall technician. This would be the person who handles all of the hardware, who handles the frame rates, getting all of the monitors linked together, syncing the graphics cards, the signal flow. That would be another job. Just sort of like a basic virtual production technician would be worried about getting the Unreal scene rendered on the wall. There's like a little bit of a workflow behind that, making sure that your frame rates stay high enough in a good place for production. So there are a lot of different branches you can go down. Personally, I do a little bit of all of them, but as you get more specialized, you can lean more sort of the artist route in designing these environments. You can go down more like the tech route, the software, the hardware. There's even coding involved. Unreal is a C++ based program, so knowing some amount of code can be really helpful as well. So those are just kind of like the basic roles that you can play.
Can you talk a bit about lighting, like an environment like this? Like I noticed the wall only goes like on like behind you. Do you find it a struggle to like have your key light match your environment at all? And would it help if the LED, like certain LED walls kind of like wrap around the subject a bit? Can you talk a bit about like matching lighting to your certain environment? Does it help to have like the LED wall? Like how much spill are you getting like onto the character that you're shooting a lot of times?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So one thing I'll say is it's really helpful to have a gaffer who has worked with virtual sets before. I'm really lucky to have one of those guys on my team. His name is Vince. He's over there. So he's got a lot of experience with this as well, but I can kind of touch on the basics. So when we're lighting the scene, Vince and I are sort of working in tandem. With me placing virtual lights, like I can place, spotlights in the scene or rectangular lights and kind of illuminate different areas. And so he'll be talking with me as he's setting up his lights, and it's really a lot of back and forth and the two of us working together. The nice thing about the wall is it does provide some of that nice emissive light. One of the pain points about lighting with the wall is actually spilling light onto the wall itself. Because when there's darks on the wall, when there's like deep blacks on the wall, you can actually see the different panes. This wall is made up of many, I forget how many LED panes it is, but it's actually individual LED panes. And when the wall is dark enough, lights can spill onto the wall and illuminate those panes, and you can see that it's a wall in a fake environment. So that's something that we've had to troubleshoot in the past, is like, how do we get enough light onto the talent and onto the foreground set while making sure that light doesn't spill onto the wall and break that illusion. So it's something we've had to work through and troubleshoot before. But yeah, I'd say the number one thing is working with someone who has some experience on the wall and sort of understands what you need to work around and how to do all of that.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about like what kind of solutions you guys found to that lighting issue?
Yeah. So sometimes the solution is, I'm looking at Vince as I say this because he's the one who usually comes up with the solutions, is setting up flags, ensuring that the light is directed so it spills just onto the talent and no further back. We'll have our lights coming out kind of at, like, there's like a line, you figure out where the talent is going to be, and then you aim the light directly at them and no further back and try to block that spill of light. So that's a solution we've worked with in the past that we've come up with. Also, sometimes you just need to position your talent further in front of the screen than you really want them to be. Like you might think, oh, I want to shoot right up here, so we're closest to the screen, but that can lead to a variety of issues, including like this thing called moire, where you see patterns on the screen caused by the refreshing of the pixels, and it also means that light spills like crazy on the scene. So we might position our talent or our scene further in front of the wall than might seem natural, but we're able to make it look realistic enough in the camera, and that also means that light does not spill onto the talent. And if you are curious to learn more about this, I would definitely encourage talking to Vince about it. He knows about solving all the problems I come up with and make him deal with.
I would say, just to jump in here right now, since you are, sometimes it's as easy as talking to the wall tech and saying like, hey, can we shift our sunlight to come from a slightly different direction? So as she's working in tandem with me with the lighting, like sometimes I'm like going, hey, if we do this slightly different, that whole collaborative process between the wall and the lighting team kind of balances each other out. So it'll be like, hey, maybe if we shift the sun just a little bit over here, the lighting will feel a little more natural. And it's usually kind of like a trial and error process to kind of figure that out. Your light control devices, so grids and louvers become very useful tools. Also flags, like I use more flags when I'm doing virtual production than regular. So I hope that answers any lighting questions regarding virtual production. Thank you, Meg. Killing it.
Thank you, Vince. Another one?
We got one down here at the front.
What does doing the floor look like for something like this?
So, this is a great question. This is something we are not set up for at our specific studio. There are a few ways to get around this. Some stages do have LED floor. Sometimes the solution is to build a build like a floor, but no other element of the set. So for example, here we would have someone on set deck, on set design, build a continuation of this road. And again, they would work very closely with me in the look of that environment and ensuring it looks realistic. We would sort of go back and forth and be hand in hand on like ensuring that the real elements match the fake elements. A different option, if it's really important to see the floor, could be actually shooting on green screen and doing that live compositing with green screen, where if you have a whole green screen like cycle, like we have in A, we've shot full body people in virtual environments doing that live compositing. So there are a few different solutions to that. Usually what we've done in here is just keep it to to knees up, so we don't see the floor, but there are definitely ways to get around that. Yeah, of course.
Time for another question if anyone has one for Meg. Ooh, I think you got them. Anybody else?
Okay, well, thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you all coming to this panel and being curious to learn more about virtual production. So I hope I was able to help, and feel free to contact me, come talk to me. I would love to talk about this stuff, so totally happy to talk more if anyone is curious.
Hey, Scott Handelback here at the OHD 2025 Gear Show, and we are always humbled by the fact that our good friends Ari come and see us every year. Gunter is so kind to come and bring all the good stuff from our friends in Germany and share all the cool toys. So what do we got out here? We're shooting a mini version of Napoleon Dynamite. Pretty much.
The new internet is actually this is a prototype that we came out last year. It's a new series of rides starting with the 10.5 all the way to 50, total 40 lenses. We have a starting set of 6 lenses from the 18 to the 105 that we're decided to ship. And the nice thing about these lenses, full frame for 2.5. They will come out with vintage elements. Starting out towards the end of their career, we have 3 positive sets, 3 negative sets, and this allows you to change the talking about our you can simulate a vintage look if you like. Also, another specialty of these lenses is they have a very near close focus ability. So the close focus mark, most of these lenses have 1 to 4 magnification. So they're not macros, but they work excellent for technology. Obviously, the wider you go, the
yeah, no, this is pretty great. So here we go. We got roll it in, and wow, yeah. I mean, what is that like? I love it. Let's do it in centimeters for the American audience.
This is actually a metric lens, which is a prototype. But we're talking from the lens.
I'm all about America switching over to the metric system. We're going to start it. We're going to start it today. I'm there. Make America metric again. So, all right. So cool. No, these are super exciting lenses. I'm anxious to kind of spend some time with these, and hopefully the folks out there will come out and spend some time with us and get some hands-on with these great lenses. And really appreciate you bringing these out here to us in the Midwest, so we can get a chance to see it and touch it, feel it, smell it, and hopefully buy it. Right.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Good seeing you, man. All right. We'll be coming back with more stuff from the OHD 2025 Gear Show.